Weird. All right, Lauren. So yeah, we played this earlier. It's a bit short. I'll go through it a little bit more slowly this time to maybe talk about the things that I notice. Yeah, some games are good, but this I don't no I don't want it to be all about like, oh well, it was just some white dude. Like I think there was an idea there. I just don't. Okay, let me turn the volume back up since I had everything set for this game. So all right, I'm mostly just left confused. Okay, so let's get back into this game. I got to change the camera sensitivity because otherwise it's really bad. And those volume settings are fine. Okay, so this game is actually pretty good. Was much shorter than I thought it would be, but it's pretty good. I mean, it was a student project, so I guess it makes sense that it doesn't have to be super long. So it's interesting because these two games actually do make a kind of a fun pair because this game also has no tutorial whatsoever. But I feel like this game understands how the no tutorial is supposed to work, whereas Of Love and Eternity has no idea how the no tutorial is supposed to work. It just didn't have one and then is like, there you go. All right, so I did actually. One of the things I didn't get a chance to talk about in my first playthrough of this was this room, which becomes important later because you return to it. A couple of things that I noted is that the height of our avatar, we are shorter because if you so a trick that you can, so for those of you who don't know, a trick that you can use in game to sort of like get a sense of like how big your avatar is in the world is to find an object whose height in your reality you would understand. So like this is the height of a counter, and notice like where it comes up relative to your avatar, and this seems to be at like just below our shoulders, which would indicate that we are a child of some age. I already know that if I go through that door, things are going to happen. But I didn't get a chance to check out this room, or at least the rest of it. You can't go up the stairs because, by the way, Lauren, you'll want to know this. No jump. There is no jump. You got the girl with the pearl earring. I don't recognize what those two are supposed to be ripping off, but that is a Vermeer up there. So this room doesn't really introduce us into anything. This sort of like it is. So one of the in the world of like the no tutorial done right, one of the first things you have to do is sort of like you have to move people through mechanics slowly, and you have to be very obvious about them. Do you think this looks like Kingdom Hearts? Kingdom Hearts 2 specifically? I don't know. I don't think it does. Right. We're going to go through the door, and then something very interesting is going to happen. So, the first introduction you get to the game's mechanics, you don't necessarily realize it at this point, is actually right here. And the fact that you're going to have to see the world simultaneously, and the primary reason why I wanted to play this game, you're going to have to see the world simultaneously from two perspectives, both from an objective perspective through the mirror, and then also from a subjective perspective as like what you're seeing through your own monitor. And also the effect that has then is to sort of like, because of the framing device of the mirror, it then also causes you to see the framing elements of the world that you might not otherwise notice immediately. Okay. And so here, yeah, we can confirm that we are a child who leans when she moves. I feel like the lean forward makes some sense. The lean back is a little... And we can notice some things about our avatar. We can see the necklace that she's wearing that we saw at the beginning there. We can see that her hands are in an awkward position for someone standing still. we can survey the room. The one thing I do really like is the fact that, like, when you see her in the mirror, as your position changes in the world, her position in the mirror changes as well. That's really cool. I mean, I realize that, like, in the engine that this game is built in, which is Unity, by the way, that's not necessarily a complicated thing to do. In fact, it's actually easier to do it that way than it would be to have her as a static figure in the mirror. Okay, so our first introduction to the game's primary mechanic, at least in terms of how you move through the world, is right here. So, Lauren, first I want to show you what happens if you just, like, hey-o. So you don't YOLO. And the game, and it, again, sort of the no tutorial system has to work in various very obvious ways. And the obvious thing that it does is if you just ignore something that's going on over here, you die. So it's like, okay, clearly. So when I died, the pit that I fell into resembled this weird void space over here. So that it signals to me that, oh, maybe I need to pay attention to that. All right. So first we do the simple navigation of the room. It's going to get more complex than this. Yeah, I really don't like the leaning. The leaning is a little strange to me. But maybe actually she's supposed to feel kind of eerie to you. Maybe you're supposed to feel a sense of sort of... Oh, and another important thing that we actually, until we go through the little portal that we see in the mirror, we don't actually see it in the world. But when we do go through it, it will be there. Okay, so we went through it, and then if we go back into the room, now it's there. We're in this little antechamber. I don't want to move too quickly through this, especially since I already know what to do. I want to focus on sort of like... One of the things that I noted previously when I was playing through this for the first time was how the nature of the game's mechanic, the fact that, like, you can't just YOLO into a room, means that you approach things with a certain degree of hesitancy, and it forces you to, like, look more carefully at the environment. Now, I don't necessarily think that this game uses that to its fullest effect, partially because, you know, it's limited in scope, and that's fine. But it is something to think about, that sort of like this mechanic forces you to behave a particular way inside of its levels, and that using that fact in other ways might help to sort of like create a more immersive effect. But I do genuinely like, so you can see in the mirror that the floor in here is pretty safe. And like I said, I already know what to do. There's one of these busts that we have to grab. It's not that one. And so yeah, you use the mirrors to sort of figure out which thing is the special thing. And as we saw from this mirror, we can see that that bust in the corner next to the door is the other special place. Well, I mean, it's worth noting that... Okay, so now we're going to be introduced to the secondary mechanic. Now, the secondary mechanic involving these ghost ladies. Now, the first time it's, again, sort of the no tutorial system. The first time it's introduced to us without the complexity of all of the void spaces in the floor. And once I can see her over by the fireplace, I'm gonna run for it. Okay. All right. And so, secondary mechanic, the ghosts. Okay, so what will happen is if you get touched by the ghost, we will also die, and it will reset us at the beginning of that room. And the rooms then, as a result, function as kind of airsets levels, and it sort of saves, or sort of saves your position at least every time. Ooh, the shadow effect is nice. I like that. It's a little the movement is a little too twitchy. I think this game actually would be even more intense, like that feeling of, oh geez, and sort of like the hesitancy of moving around would be exacerbated, actually, I think, if you moved a little bit more slowly. Like if you had to move more slowly and more deliberately, that sense of... That is already in the game. Oh, that's right. I don't think there is anything in this area. All right. It's just a space to move into. Okay, and so again, we're faced with the mirror, and then the fact that we have to move through in such a way. Okay, and then in this next one, it's going to be the first time we combine the two. Combining the ghost with the junk on the floor. Okay. I was a little too close there. Alright, and then we gotta move over this way. Okay. And there's sort of a safe alcove here that we can use. And we do have to use this because we have to go to the back side of this to get back over in here, so that way we can get through this door. Now, it's interesting that when I first came in here, I died again because I came into this room and I YOLO'd and I was like, oh, da, da, and I died. And it took me a while to realize, actually, that the mirror in this one is on the ceiling. So it's a fairly simple mechanic, but it has interesting granularity because I like a simple mechanic that is used in a variety of different ways. And it's interesting how, like, before, I had a harder time sort of, like, thinking of my character in relationship to... Like, I'm actually better at sort of the dissociating effect that this game has now. Just gotta wait for her to rush past, and then I can... Alright. Now we're in the room. I don't remember there being anything in here. I don't think there was. You can go into the room real quick and just check. Yeah. Let's see. No. I think we just go through this door over here. Yeah. So another instance of the combo. In this case, now we have two ghosts that we have to deal with. I remember this one. I got it right the first time, but I remember being extremely anxious about it. So I'm going to pause for a second. See how far I can get into the room without... I think I can... Okay, I can go forward a little bit more. I think they follow the same pattern. Yeah, they follow the same pattern. Alright. And I've got to get to that doorway there. So if I recall the way I did this last time, I waited for this one to pass, and then I went into the middle of the room. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay. It's in the middle of the room. And then when I get over, I'm gonna so I have to wait for her to pass, get over, and then go back immediately. So once she passes, actually I can probably get a little bit better prepared. Ooh. Dang it! Dang it! Alright. I had the right idea, I just gotta... That was just sloppy execution on my part. That was just sloppy execution. Okay. I mean, maybe I don't need to book it. Okay, actually I don't think I do need to book it. I just have to get all the way back. Yeah. I didn't need to book it. Okay. Alright. Wait, that's not the room. This is the next room. Okay. Whoosh. Okay. Man, like, even though I know what to do, I'm still like, oh. Very, very tense. And also, I mean... It's worth noting that they reuse the same, like, assets over and over again, and yet despite that fact, that it all feels different enough. Okay, so I gotta get over there. actually don't remember how I did this one. I'm kind of close. Okay, maybe I should back off. I feel like I can just follow after and then go along. Yeah, okay. And then in here, yeah. I don't recall there being anything over here. Nice little fire. Nice toasty fire for us. Huh. So it's this book right here I gotta grab. Yeah. Okay. New mechanic. Book. In bookshelf. And then that is what allowed us to see these footprints. I wasn't really sure what the point of the footprints was. And also before I was a little confused because I thought this stuff on the stand over here was also mystical weird, but it's just, it happens to be the same color. Alright. Again, I should be, okay, so, ooh boy. Ah, okay. Little too close for comfort there, Nicholas. Don't do that. Okay, I have to get over here, I think. Ah! Ugh. I don't remember how I did this one. Okay, so I have to just like get to the middle and then gun it, I think. Like I have space. Yeah, that's how I did it. Okay. Oofda. Oh, great. Stream is once again having... Oh, okay. Don't... Nicholas, stop doing that. You know, it's interesting. My hesitancy actually served me really well before. Whereas this... now that I'm just, like, YOLOing it, it's actually much worse. I need to stop doing that. Okay, so that's the... That was the bookcase. Alright, and then I needed to go up front. Yeah, okay. And then it was... It's one of... So it's the book that's like... kitty corner to the... So it's this one. Yes, it's this one, okay. Alright. Right there. Okay. Okay. Oh, jeez. So this bookcase, and it's okay. So I also want to go back to this point about sort of like the no tutorial, and how like this game is also has provided me no narrative whatsoever. At least no like scaffolding narrative, no like narrator coming over and saying the little girl found herself in a dark mansion. None of that stuff. And yet I don't need it. Like this the way the gameplay itself has been constructed, like that's not a necessary condition of play. And I like that. You know, I do actually, so I didn't think that this game would stand up to a replay, but I'm noticing more on replay. It's the idea that underlies it. It's not just that it's been really well executed. It's that everything has been sort of really well. One, all of its elements have been really well integrated. The game doesn't try to do too much. And the things that it did decide to do, like they're all really well done, especially when you consider the time frame in which this was made. I mean, a game that's made in 3 months, that's kind of crazy. Especially given how sort of like atmospheric it is. I mean, it's entirely possible that they used, I mean, it seems like they used a lot of pre-made assets, which is fine, because this is sort of a really good example of sort of using pre-made assets in such a way that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. All right. And then we come up these stairs. I was just trying to see if there's anything that I noticed this time that I didn't notice before. Again, I'm really, really digging the whole, like, subjective and object, like, the whole sort of, like, having to have multiple perspectives on, like, yourself in the game, your avatar in the game simultaneously. Like, that's really hard to do, because it's not just about sort of visual framing. There's much more to it than that. And so now we're back in that first room, and again, it's that principle of sort of like seeing things from both a subjective and an objective perspective. And so now we're seeing the room itself from, as it turns out, 2 different subjective perspectives, because before we couldn't come up here. And then again, yeah, it's that framing device where, you know, from a subjective perspective, we just perceive this as a door like any other. However, when you look at it through, I'll go forward so it closes. When you look at it through the mirror, you notice the sort of the similarity of the framing effect here and then the framing effect within the mirror. And I do recall noting this before, that you see it that way from the subjective perspective, whereas you also see it from the subjective perspective in this way, as if you were sort of like perceiving things from like the perspective of your own eyeballs. And if I remember correctly, this is where the game ends. And so I guess this is supposed to be her room? I wonder if we can go back. Oh, that's right. I forgot once you come in this room. And that's the other thing, is that once you enter a room, you can't go back. I mean, I already know what happens, so I'm just going to show Lauren what happens. So then that necklace that we have the sort of glowy gem. That's sort of the last element. Let me click. That is it. End of game. So, yeah, not a terribly complex game. Not even really a very long game. But definitely one where it's like, I don't just want to say, oh, it's so good. Oh, wait. Oh, crap. That said what the paintings were. Oh, damn it. I should have been paying attention to the credits. Then I would have known what the paintings were. I think I can actually click on the credits. Okay, there we go. Now I'll know what the paintings are. Yeah, I've never heard of those other ones. Oh, okay. All right.